Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing great out there tonight. Had yourselves a fantastic day and a great beginning to your work week out there. Had no plans to make a video tonight, but here we are making one just because we do have an increased severe weather risk for areas of the upper Midwest. And I'm really going to speak on Minnesota, especially Wisconsin, and then Michigan. Those will be the three main states I'll talk about in this video. And we do have a legit wind threat that will unfold over the next several hours. We already have storms ongoing right now in sections of Minnesota, but things will dramatically go downhill as we get over the next several hours. This is definitely going to be a nighttime deal, guys, and that's why I thought, hey, I need to come on here and do my part, make a video, even though there's a lot of people that's going to be going live, whether they're storm chasers, whether they're giving you guys a live feed like Ryan Hall or whomever out there. I want to do my part, keep you guys aware and ahead of this system this energy that's going to unfold into the overnight hours into tomorrow morning. So at the very end of the video, we'll discuss a little bit on the tropics too. Model guidance continues to increase on just something to watch for out there deep in the Atlantic. So we're going to show you some model guidance, some ensemble guidance. But 90% of this video is going to be discussing the severe weather risk you see right in front of you. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. So let's discuss the latest from the Storm Prediction Center. And let's make sure we don't have any new information. We do not. So this is Minnesota. We'll show you Wisconsin here in a second. But Minnesota, there is an enhanced risk for the Minneapolis-St. Paul area down to Rochester into southeastern Minnesota. Good chunk of the state does have a slight risk, level 2 out of 5. And then the far southwestern section of the state, more so just a marginal risk, level 1 out of 5. So the worst of the weather looks to develop in eastern Minnesota, especially southeastern Minnesota. Could have a nasty line of storms that develops right on top of the Minneapolis region. We already have some really strong storms. Could be severe by the time I'm done making this video around the Rochester area right now. So we just got to watch how these storms evolve as they continue to make their way southeast from the northwest. But, what is this driven off of? Well, tornado risk. There is a 5% risk of a tornado in the higher populated area like the Minneapolis-St. Paul region down to Rochester. That brown area, that is a 5% risk. Green area, that's a 2% risk of a tornado. And then the wind threat. Okay. Minneapolis, St. Paul, 30% chance of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. The yellow area, that's a 15% risk of that. And then you notice the black outline region, that's a 10% risk to see winds pushing 75 miles per hour or higher. So we do have that wind threat that could be significant, that significant wind threat. So the hail outlook, this entire yellow area, if you live in here, that is a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. The black outline region, that is a 10% risk of hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger. Okay, some of these areas might not even get a drop of rain. We just got to watch. Wisconsin is the big state, guys. And I wouldn't be surprised if they extend the slight risk, even in the enhanced risk, into lower Michigan for tomorrow morning. We just got to watch this. And I wouldn't be surprised if they extend, and let's see if there's any updates. There is not. If they push this enhanced risk a little bit further north into Wisconsin sometime in the next update or two. Okay, because like I said, I know you're thinking, well, next update or two, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon in Central Time right now. Well, a lot of this will not evolve until after the sun sets, into the overnight hours. If you see any cats behind me, I got the door wide open. You might see some cats around. You might hear some meowing, typical stuff in the West household. But Eau Claire, La Crosse, enhanced risk. Okay, down to Madison, Janesville, Portage, Tuma. I think that's how you pronounce it. Enhanced risk, level 3 out of 5. Enhanced risk now all the way down to just north of Chicago, all the way down to Milwaukee. Level 3 out of 5. Slight risk and goes all the way up to the western UP of Michigan. I think you might pronounce that maybe Wausau. I think I probably jacked that all up, but let's not spend too much time on that. Green Bay, Oshkosh, you guys. Oshkosh actually has the enhanced risk. Green Bay, slight risk, level 2 out of 5. Okay, we do have a 5% risk of a tornado with this. That brown area, some of those cities I just mentioned are either butchered. 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location. So not only did this wind threat increase, the tornado threat did too. Speaking of the wind threat, if you live in this red area, and like I said, I would not be surprised if they bump this a little bit further north. If you live in that red area, there is a legit wind threat with this. I think we could have winds in excess of 80, 90 miles per hour. And some of the more intense portions of this line of storms is going to develop. Now, I'm going to show you on the HRRR model here in a second in the NAM. But Eau Claire, Madison, La Crosse, please, Janesville, please, all the way to Milwaukee, be mindful of that this is going to unfold after dinner time, after you put the kids down to sleep, after all that. So 30% chance of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. Yellow, 15% risk of that. In this entire blackout line region with the dashes going in between, 10% risk of winds exceeding 75 miles per hour or higher. That's Category 1 hurricane force winds. All right. And there's a hail threat. Not as big of a deal as maybe back here in Minnesota. But if you live in the yellow area, 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. And Eau Claire, Rice Lake, these areas in the western state of Wisconsin, you guys do have that 10% risk of hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger. And, not to ignore my friends here, and in fact, let's just go on and back it up. I'm going to show you guys some love. Just note that, for example, in Michigan, this could change for you guys. But, I could see, you just got to watch. Grand Rapids, I think you're going to wake up to some very active weather tomorrow morning. But for now, I just want to focus and zoom in on Wisconsin and Minnesota regarding the actual Storm Prediction Center outlook. And we are going to show you guys in Michigan as far as the radar. So let's look at the HRRR model. And the reason I have Minnesota kind of cut out on this is because the latest HRRR model doesn't really develop any storms. And let's see if we got, it just doesn't go out far enough. Let's back it up here. The latest HRRR model doesn't really even develop any storms in Minnesota. So it's not doing a great job initializing these storms either right in here. But listen, we're all the way. If you're confused about the time at all in this video, this says 8 p.m., right? This is 8 p.m. Eastern time. So really we're at 7 p.m. because, we need to back it up an hour because we're in Central time. So whatever, if you see 8 o'clock here, that'll be 7, okay? So we're 7 p.m. local time here, 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m. It takes all the way till about 10 p.m. before we really get an eruption of storms up here south of Duluth at the Minnesota-Wisconsin line. Okay, these storms continue to develop. All the smaller towns and communities in northern Wisconsin is getting hit hard. And this is midnight, guys. Eau Claire right here. Okay, La Crosse right into here. These storms are just north of you, Eau Claire. And I'm telling you, if something like the HRRR develops, you got to watch out for a tornado threat on the southern flank of these storms. These continue. Look at this intense line of storms. 1 a.m. They could be quite intense all the way into the UP of Michigan, but I definitely think they'll be the worst into Wisconsin. And you stop here. It's just 2 o'clock in the morning. You have a disruptive line of storms making its way through the state of Wisconsin. Dare I say derecho? It's possible. It's possible. But I think the longevity of this, how long it lasts, might take away that criteria because it needs to be a long-lasting line. But this continues, guys. This hits Green Bay hard at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning based off this. But look, it's totally kind of missing La Crosse for the most part. Okay? And these continue. They kind of, move over the northern half of Lake Michigan. They start to ooze down to Milwaukee. You get kind of the development of more storms down here in like near Dubuque, near Janesville, Rockford, but they kind of, for the most part, like miss southern sections of Wisconsin. And you're thinking, well, dang, Wisconsin has an enhanced risk for this almost the whole entire southern half of the state. So dang, it just misses it like that. Well, that's what this run shows. You know what's wild though? Is let's back this up here. You look at this run. Let's back this up about 5 runs ago. It had this line of storms much further south. So the latest few runs from the HRRR model has really pushed this a little bit further north. That's why there's a chance they might upgrade this to an enhanced risk for areas further north. Now, not to leave my friends here in lower Michigan hanging, but this is like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Look at this line of storms bowing out here. It has that bowing structure blasting through the northern half of lower Michigan. There could be some storms up here for you folks in the UP of Michigan, but I don't think they'll be as intense. But Grand Rapids, you could be in for quite literally a rude awakening tomorrow morning. These storms could be intense, damaging winds. Can't rule out a tornado, but damaging winds by far the biggest threat, and definitely can move into the Detroit region, all the way into northern Indiana, northwestern Ohio as you're waking up, or getting into about 8, 9 o'clock in the morning tomorrow morning. So, yeah. Now, you compare this with the NAM, and we're going to take a broader look at this, right? The NAM says at around 9 p.m. this evening, you're going to have a lot of storms developing back here in central Minnesota, and some storms in northern Minnesota, which I think might, have a little bit of a tornado threat with them. So this is around 9 p.m., right? You keep this going. Now, the NAM probably is overdoing this, but around 11 p.m., it has a damaging line of storms developing right on top of the Minneapolis-St. Paul region, Duluth, and this really shows, a worrisome scenario right here, okay? And there is enough thermodynamic energy in the atmosphere to really drive this. There's enough wind energy to drive this. But this is a totally different thing, right, compared to what I just showed you with the HRRR model. It extends this line of storms well down here into southeastern Minnesota, all the way down here into northern Iowa, and really just hits the entire state of Wisconsin with some sort of nasty weather. And that is an intense line of storms in northeastern Iowa and then southwestern areas of Wisconsin. I mean, intense. And in fact, we can honestly just kind of start to zoom in now to the state of Wisconsin at this point, so you get a little closer look at it. So, I mean, that would hit La Crosse very hard. I mean, that would get all the way down to Dubuque, Iowa. This would start to get close to the Madison area. We got storms up here in the UP of Michigan. This is 2 o'clock in the morning. And looks like they kind of break up. But in general, the NAM is more kind of spread out compared to the HRRR model. And eventually, this gets all the way into like northern Illinois. Gets also into lower Michigan. Affects Chicago like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. So once again, this is 11 p.m., midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. It shows the same similar structure of storms. The NAM is just more intense and more widespread than the HRRR model. So if you talk about impacts and you look at the HRRR model, it shows some strong rotation with some rotating updrafts along the southern flank of the storm, right into here. A lot of rotation with this storm. So you do have the damaging wind threat, which is by far the biggest threat with this setup. But you also have a risk of embedded tornadoes with this. So there's definitely going to be some spin in the atmosphere all the way across Lake Michigan, all the way into lower Michigan as we are getting into tomorrow morning. Trying to lower Michigan right here. Okay, so let's back it up to this and look at that. So, I mean, we have rotation with some of these storms all the way into the lower half of lower Michigan as we're getting into tomorrow morning. Okay, and then you look at winds, right? Of course, it's only going to show the strongest winds where it actually has the storms moving through. So you see this more highlighted color here, and then it kind of jumps over here, jumps over here. That's because it's hour by hour. So 1 hour's right here, the next hour's right here. That doesn't mean this area in between ain't going to get winds. This is just an hour by hour segment. So, you see where that red and orange is, that's, 50, 60, 70 mile per hour winds, especially these darker colors right near Green Bay. So once the epicenter of the worst winds right in here, moving into lower Michigan as we're getting into the wee hours of the morning, all the way just into your Tuesday morning, right through this region right here. Wisconsin, northern half of Wisconsin, into lower Michigan. Now the NAM is going to go crazy with the updraft velocity swath. It abruptly starts these storms back here in western Minnesota. Lots of rotation with these storms. It's overdoing this like crazy. And I'm just kind of showing you the general idea. And then we go into Wisconsin. There it is right there. A lot of rotation with these storms. But this is probably overdone. And the winds are probably overdone with this too. And this is why I don't like showing you the NAM. But I am just kind of comparing. Because this is in the near term. It's right out in front of us. Look how it abruptly starts these storms in western Minnesota. I mean, immediately you got damaging wind gusts. And you see how it goes hour by hour by hour by hour here. The NAM is showing, 70, 80, 90 mile per hour wind gusts embedded in these little pockets here that could sweep even across like the Minneapolis, St. Paul region, Rochester, getting into Eau Claire, getting into, sections of just western Wisconsin, central sections of the state. And it really, if something like this happens, this is going to cause some significant issues with damaging winds. So, there it is, moving through Wisconsin, areas of even northern Illinois, our friends in Iowa. So, I just want to make this video, guys, to really keep you guys aware of what's going to unfold tonight. This is starting to become more of a now thing. And if you look at the radar right now out of, say, I think Minneapolis here, you already got some storms developing here and really ongoing right now in southeastern Minnesota. Got some energy up here. So how does all this evolve, right? As it, is this going to be the dominant stuff? Is something going to form back here? We just got to watch what forms. Whatever forms is going to drift into the state of Wisconsin and eventually over Lake Michigan. Does anything form down here in Iowa? I mean, it's tough. It's tough to figure out. This is what's going on right now as around 5:20 Eastern time. Just these little clusters of rain showers and storms. Nothing even severe at this moment. That'll change quickly over the next several hours, though. So, that's it on that. I want to give you an update on the tropics. And they have highlighted a tropical wave to watch right outside the Lesser Antilles. I mean, it's right off of northern sections of South America. But they're saying if it does develop, it's not going to have a chance to develop until it gets into the Western Caribbean, maybe the Bay of Campeche. So there'll be a 20% chance to develop in the next 7 days. Develop means into maybe a tropical depression, maybe a named storm. So we just got to watch this. This is really low down here. It's a low rider for sure. But as of right now, this is the only one to watch. I want to tell you, though, if you look at satellite, there it is right there. That's the wave. I know it's kind of hard to see on your screen. That is the tropical wave it's saying to watch as this continues to sort of ride through here, get through here. Does it get pulled maybe north by an upper trough or something like that? That's possible, but we watch that wave. But I can tell you, this is an area to watch here too. This is going to take about a week to really enter the picture, but this is really the area to watch also. Even though it's not highlighted by the National Hurricane Center, I think there's a potential it does get highlighted over the next, I would say, few days. And this is the European ensemble support from it. This is between now and the morning of July the 3rd. It really has some pretty strong support of this developing. And there is some stronger members. So I would always bet against this happening, especially this time of the year. 2 reasons. One, the Saharan dust is actually out there right now. That's going to limit the development of whatever forms right here and continues to move westward. And then 2, a lot of times this time of the year we have what we call a tut that comes down and basically whiplashes the Eastern Caribbean and causes a lot of shear. So a lot of times these systems will kind of get into this region this time of the year and they'll get completely shredded. We call it the graveyard of the Caribbean, the tropical graveyard. It's because this is where a lot of tropical systems go to die. So it's just something to watch, guys. But that's all I got. Please stay safe. We're praying for you folks in the upper Midwest tonight. Stay safe, be aware, and I'll talk to you in the morning. God bless.